Have you been wondering what a Charlotte Mason lesson plan looks like? What will it look like to teach all of those things in a day? You may have heard that Charlotte Mason lessons are short, but you're wondering, how do you fit it all in when you see all the books that are covered and all the subjects that are covered in a Charlotte Mason curriculum? Well, today I'm going to talk about what a lesson looks like. I'm going to really describe it line by line, and I'm also going to show you what an Alveary lesson plan looks like. If some of you saw my last video, I talked about the Alveary, everything, as much that I could really tell, all about the Alveary curriculum, from what kinds of books they choose, what subjects they teach, how they break down the terms and all of those things. I talked about the supports and the resources. I had actually also included a flip through in an Alveary lesson plan. And then I realized that there is a paywall in the Alveary, and so we really can't reveal those kinds of things. But I wanted to give people who are interested in the Alveary still a glimpse at what that looks like, because it's sometimes really difficult to invest in something when you can't see anything about it. And so today in this video, I am going to show you and share with you an Alveary lesson. However, it's a sample that they also show on their website. So I am not showing anything that I shouldn't show, but I will describe in detail everything that is involved in a lesson. And in future videos, I will do the same. So I can share what we do and how we do it. I just can't show you the actual documents from the Alveary. So before actually showing you what an Alveary lesson looks like, I wanted to tell you all the parts of a lesson. So in a Charlotte Mason lesson, it always begins with a recap from the previous lesson. You begin the lesson by asking, so children, what do you remember from last week's lesson or from the last lesson? Because some lessons are might be twice in the week, some are once a week. So you're asking, what do you remember from the last lesson? And you're letting them retell you in their own words. You aren't filling in the gaps. You aren't telling them, well, that isn't quite right. This is actually what the lesson was about. You move on. You can let everyone take a turn. If you have more than one student, everyone can take a turn and recap what they recall about the lesson. The next part is what I like to call the captain idea. So now you are going to do a little bit of research of your own. You're going to look ahead to see what you are going to be teaching about in the lesson. And you're going to provide an introduction, a little sort of a sneak peek that's going to capture and draw the attention in of the students. Something really interesting from the lesson that's going to be like, oh, I really want to pay attention to this lesson because it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a good one. So you want it to be something really fascinating that's going to draw in their attention. Now, the wonderful thing about the Alveary is they provide you this introduction. Now, you can also go and provide more if you like, but they give you a little snap picture of the lesson with a little introduction that you can talk about. It can be a one-liner. We don't want to, as in Charlotte Mason's philosophy and her methods, we don't want to go on and on and on and on. This is not now our platform to stand up and give our little speech. This is not now our lecture period as the teacher. Remembering that in Charlotte Mason's method, we are the guide. We're not really the teacher. So it can be a one or two liner. It's just something really fascinating. You might say, in today's lesson, we are going to talk about how Matthew Henson learned how to eat blubber. Something interesting like that. I'm not even sure if that is part of the book, but ideally that is what you're doing. And then you will then go into the lesson, but it's something to draw their attention, to suck them in and want them to pay attention. So the next part of a Charlotte Mason lesson is reading the living books. And that is something that some people don't seem to quite get, is what is a living book? We're not just reading a textbook. We're not just reading anything at all, but we are reading living books. So living books are beautifully written books that are rich in language, where the authors are passionate and knowledgeable and even experts in the areas that they are writing in. They'll also contain beautiful pictures with artistic drawings or paintings, things that are beyond just a generated image online, on the internet. You want to read something that is high quality, that is up to date in the research and in the information. And preferably living books are written in narrative form. They are storytelling. We don't want a list of facts. We want to read things that are told in a story, that hold the attention of our children, and that's something that is easy to narrate back. And then you also want to walk away from reading it feeling connected to the story, feeling connected to the issues that are being presented, things that you will think about throughout the week because you've really connected to it through the storyline. So the Alveary has done that for us as well. They have gone through all the greatest literature and picked books that are not only beautiful and rich in language, but also in subjects like geography, history, and science that are relevant for us today. And they do such an amazing job where we can really truly rest in knowing that the books that we are reading, that the Alveary has chosen, are wonderful, and we don't have to look further. I have seen a lot of homeschooling moms always on the search for the greatest living books, and it's a big job. It's hard to do. The Alveary does that for us, and that's one thing that I really truly love about this curriculum. So after you read the passage, after you've read the pages that you read in the lesson of that day, you are then going to ask your students to tell you back what they can remember from the passage. Their fascination with what we have just read is what is going to make them think about it. Now, a lot of parents are concerned that children are going to have a hard time formulating a narration, a short summary of what they can recall. And it is a skill that is learned over time. But allow your student to build on that skill. They might at first only be able to say a couple of words. They might not be able to even say complete sentences. They might not even fully understand what they've read, and they've only really understood bits and parts of it. Allow those things to sink in. That is okay. Don't correct the narration. Don't tell them it was wrong. Allow them to put together their own narration. And over time, you will find that as they hear a narration, they hear other students narrate, and it is also okay for you to even give a sample narration of your own, maybe afterwards. But as they build on that, you will find they are learning how to narrate more and more and more. Each week, each month, and each year, they just get better and better at it. And as your student gets older, you can expect more from them. But at first, if they're only just recalling that there was a princess and the princess got married, and if that's all that they got from it, that is okay. And they will build on that. Now, after the narration period is done and you've allowed your students to share what they can recall, you can then have a short discussion. Now, what we might pull out from the story and what we think is significant and important is not necessarily what the students are going to find significant and important. But we can draw on a few other things that we found that are important in the story to discuss, and not by telling them. So it's now not lecture time. It's now not, let me now tell you what really happened in the story. It's going to be more questions to ask, to think a little bit more deeply. So this is going to be the discussion time led by questions, and you're still allowing them to come up with the answers. You can give them a few facts, a few other things, maybe extra supplementary things or something from it that you really found that they didn't quite get. Like maybe we talked about the Civil War and they didn't really understand what the Civil War was or the significance of it, the abolishment of slavery and what that means. That might be something that you need to explain. Things like that. But you're not recapping it all for them. You're not saying, well, this was what was truly important. That's not the discussion. You still want them to draw on those things. But again, you will find more and more they are getting it, they are understanding it, and you can have faith in the process that they are going to grow and be able to get more and more out of the literature as they grow older. So a Charlotte Mason lesson happens over 12 weeks. There are 3 terms with 12 weeks in each term. You will teach lessons from weeks 1 to 10. The 11th week is meant to be a review week, and then on the 12th week, there is an exam. Now, this exam is not graded. You don't give marks. It's really a celebration of all the things that your student can recall from the previous 12 weeks, the previous 10 weeks. And it's an oral exam. So you may know what your students' strengths and weaknesses are, and you're not trying to trip them up. You're not trying to ask them tough questions to make sure they understood everything. You're going to choose things that you feel quite comfortable that your student is going to know well. And you might review those things during the review week. And then when you ask them those questions, we can celebrate together and show them, look how much you remembered. Look how much you were able, like, good for you. This was wonderful. And everyone feels proud of themselves. Everyone feels happy and accomplished. And through all those narrations over 10 weeks, they truly do remember a lot, and they surprise you. They surprise you with how much they remember. So that is the exam week on week 12. Now we like to take a 13th week that we take off as a celebration week, as a week of rest, as a holiday before we begin our next term. And then in the next term, term 2 and then term 3, you will then do new books, new topics for 10 weeks of lessons, another review, and another brand new oral exam on just that term. You move on. You don't go back and review the previous terms. I mean, you can always do those things in your own family time and discussions. I think that's wonderful. It's always good to review. It's always good to kind of be like, hey, remember last year when we talked about Matthew Henson? You know, things like that. It's always good to review, but as not part of the lesson plan, and it's not added in there as an exam or a required question that they must answer. But that is basically it. That is a year of Charlotte Mason lessons. And I love how straightforward it is. You apply this process of recapping, captain idea, read the literature, narration, and discussion for every single subject. It works for history, geography, science, Bible, literature, everything, even math. Even math, you recap, you do the questions, you talk back about what you know, things like that. So you really can apply, this is the process, this is a Charlotte Mason lesson that is applied to every single subject. So now I want to show you just a short snippet of what the Alveary supplies to you. I mean, they really just do so much. I really believe they just take all the work out of it for you. And this is what they give to you in a lesson. So that, you know, other Charlotte Mason curriculum where you really are doing all the lesson planning. You're figuring out how much that you should read in a day, what kind of questions should you ask, what would you give for a captain idea? Like, you would then have to literally read all of the books ahead of time before you read them with your student, which would be a lot of work. So this is from the Alveary's website, and as you can see here, it says it's a sample lesson plan. So this is something that I am able to show you. It's a grade 9 English lesson plan. And I'm not going to show you absolutely everything, but I just want to show you the parts of it. So it's just simple, you know, of course, about the course. They'll tell you how much the lessons, how long the lessons should take. So for grade 9, it says here 20 minutes, 2 times a week, you'd be doing grammar and composition. And then 20 minutes, 1 time a week for dictation, and 30 minutes, 1 time a week for composition, the nature of English poetry. So this is for grade 9 language arts. And it just shows you a sample of a weekly schedule. So day 1, they would say grammar, day 2, grammar, day 3, composition, day 4, composition, and day 5, dictation. And they also have a whole section, which I didn't print out, of the planning and prep. But there's not, as I said, you don't have to necessarily do a lot of prepping because they do it for you. But you could go ahead and do a bit more preparation as they sort of explain in the next pages, but they also kind of include that into the programming. It just kind of helps you understand the process. Now, as you can see there, that's a QR code. I don't think it's a real link for that one, but it's one that at the top of every page, they would have a QR code that links to videos, pictures, maps, other things, other resources that you could use for the lesson. They provide everything else for you. You don't have to go out and buy all those additional things or find your own videos and things. They provide that. So this would be term 2, week 1, lesson 61. And you can see here that they'll tell you that you're going to be reading this book. You're going to read, narrate, and discuss. Then you're going to practice, and they give you the exercise page number. And then you can see that they have some discussion questions here. It says, what does a formal style communicate to the reader? How would the world receive the Declaration of Independence if it had been written in an informal English? So they have questions there for you to discuss. So that's everything in one lesson. In the next lesson, grammar and composition. Again, they're reading this book called Essay Voyage, and you would read, narrate, discuss, and they're reading 2 pages from the book, and then discuss again, Boswell's Connecting Words. There's also things in here for student tips. Now, this students are at this grade doing things independently. In the younger grades, in this column, it would actually say teacher's tips, and they give you more. So as you can see, I mentioned recapping the previous lesson. That's not in here because this is a grade 9 student and they would be doing it on their own. But in a younger student's lesson, before it goes into reading, it would actually have recap. And every lesson does begin with recap, with a recapping questions to ask your student. And then also the captain idea as well. You're not going to be giving your student a captain idea because again, they are working independently, but those things would be built into the lesson as well. So there's more to a lesson in the younger students' lesson plans, but they do want your student to work towards doing everything independently, especially once they get to the high school years. So that would be what a lesson for week 2 or day 2 would look like. And then day 3 would be composition. They tell them what to prep. So they're gonna go to the link and look at this document to prep. And then they tell them what to write. So they're gonna pick a book from your Sunday evening or afternoon readings, and then pick a narration question from the narration ideas and so forth. I won't read it all to you, but this is an assignment, a writing assignment that they give to them with the students' tips of what they should do. So the tip here is to set your timer and work for the whole lesson, leaving a few minutes at the end to edit and revise. So they're helping them stay on track, how to manage their time. And then the 4th lesson for the week is a composition. Again, they have a prep where they would go to a link. They're linking them to another subject of citizenship, and they're gonna write 4 to 5 sentences summarizing a current event article that you read this week. So everything is laid out. There's no assignments, no tasks, no reading, questions that you have to put together yourself because they have done it all for you. And this is what every single grade will look like with even more information added in for the younger years. But that's all I have for you. I hope you found it helpful. I hope that seems to make sense. The lessons do flow very easily, naturally, and you really don't feel that you're missing out or that you're lacking anything in the lessons. In future videos, I do plan on going through more detail by subject. I am going to be doing a math video upcoming to explain Beauty and Truth a little more. And I want to go into details about what happens with history in the Alveary and a few other subjects like that. But I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.